brother.
I don't know if y'all can see, but we are live and direct from downtown Baltimore.
We overlooking the Camden Yards where the Orioles
Yes, sir.
play.
Yes, sir.
And to our left is in the bank. You know, the bank. Big trust.
So we wanted to do something special for our 200th episode.
Facts.
I mean, 200 episodes, bro. To imagine, we started this on a couch
Facts.
in Delaware.
Yep.
This actually came to life from, like, we met at our friend's wedding.
Yeah, shout out to Mike.
And we just had this idea, like, yo, let's create the podcast. You know, so to be here at 200 episodes, I mean, look, I'm going to go ahead and just thank God from the start, right? I'm going to go ahead and thank God for allowing us to make it to 200 episodes. I want to also thank God for allowing us to have the following that we have. And I just want to thank God for allowing us to grow from episode 1 to episode 200. So right now, this is a special episode. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things. But as always, we're going to have a lot of business talk, a lot of finance talk. And, you know, we just want y'all to understand, like, this is... I don't take this for granted. You know, 200 episodes. That's amazing, man.
Yeah, when I think about, you know, reaching 200 episodes, I think about not only consistency, longevity, but also, you know, we have 5-star rated podcasts on Apple iTunes.
Hey, talk that.
You know what I'm saying?
Talk that. That's
so,
real news. Talk
you know,
that.
to be able to have 200 episodes and to consistently create and publish good content for our listeners to be able to, you know, use in their lives, you know, give them
To
actionable
reference.
tips.
Yeah.
Yep. That's what I'm really most proud about because, you know, you can put trash out, but, you know, to be able to get, like I said, the reviews we get, to get the accolades we've, you know, received, you know, we've been called for public speaking engagements because of this platform.
Yeah.
So, like, I love it, man. It's like my little baby.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, man, so let's get into the show. Like we always do, we always give a little insight into our personal lives.
Right.
So what's been going on, man? How you been?
Been all right, man. Been hanging in there. You know,
Yeah.
it's the holiday season. So, you know, trying to schedule some travels to see family, but also, you know, finish off the year strong, prepare for some stuff in 2022. I actually got contacted today about possibly doing some Turo management. So I'm looking forward to looking into, you know, exploring not only just from the ownership standpoint, but also from, you know, management standpoint.
Hey, I'm going to keep it real. Are we talking about the internal or the external conversation?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, both.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So,
nice.
You know, looking at that, I know we had talked about some international stuff for next year. So, I mean, overall, you know, everything's going good. The market has been sloppy. They haven't been all right, but it's one of those things where you look at the opportunities that are available and the discounts that are available and see where you can deploy some money, you know, if you have some free cash flow available to pick some things up on quote-unquote sale.
Yeah.
But always just remember, though, not everything is guaranteed to bounce back. I think people should be reminded of that because everyone thinks it's automatic bounce back. I mean, the market in its totality, you know, historically bounces back, but not every individual stock bounces back. So that's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, I'm going to put that down because I feel like everyone is used to things just bouncing back. Right. And like you said, not everything is going to bounce back. Some things are actually overpriced, and they are going to get corrected to their appropriate price
value,
levels. Yeah. But, bro, I've been all right. A lot of stuff is going on with family. So my grandmother, she's in the hospital. Yeah, man. So it was beautiful to see family come together because we said we didn't want her in the hospital by herself at any time. So there were shifts. I had like the night shift. I was spending some time with my grandmother at night. And it was crazy because even in her pain, she was still caring for me, right? Like, they brought her food and she's like, "Yeah, you want this?" I'm like, "Grandma, if you don't eat your food, yo."
Hospital food?
Yeah, hospital food, yo.
Man. She was setting you up.
Yeah, I'm like, yo, you the one that's supposed to be eating this, you know?
Right.
So it was a beautiful thing to just see family come together. Mm-hmm. I spent Thanksgiving alone simply because nobody had time to cook. Everybody was just doing what they had to do to cater to my grandmother. But it was still a good time. You know, I was thankful.
Right.
And it gave me perspective. Life is real short. I feel like we take a lot of things for granted because, bro, we've been having a great run in the market, right? In terms of when you look at the stock market, when you look at crypto,
right.
Things have been really good, right? So a lot of people don't really understand like financial pain. There's a lot of money in the economy. So I think sometimes you take things for granted, and seeing my grandmother, in the hospital and just understanding how, bro, like she could have been gone, and some things that I wanted to, say to her, some things that she expected of me to do, I haven't done those things, So life is short, and I'm definitely going to take advantage of life in 2022 by doing some crazy things that I'm going to get into.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, but yeah, I want to get into, you talked about things like prices being corrected and a bounce back. So I feel as though millennials and Gen Z investors, they haven't felt pain before. Like, we've been fortunate to invest in things where, it might go down for a little bit, but it always comes back somehow, some way, right? And I think when you look at some of the big events, right, like if you take the recession from '08, if you take the Great Depression, you're talking about years. Well, you have the 1 year where it's like, okay, things are just
decimated.
Decimated, and then you have years where it's like, okay, a recovery.
It's the recovery phase.
Yeah, but those are years, right?
Right.
And I feel like we haven't gotten to that point, and it makes us more risky. And I think we need to exercise caution because 2022, let me tell you, the U.S. economy can no longer hide behind the government.
Right.
What do I mean by that? There are levers that the government can use to help the economy out, right? Interest rates are as low as they're ever going to be. They can't afford to keep interest rates that low. So in 2022, there will be rate hikes. It's not going to be anything crazy, but there are going to be increases to the interest rates. In terms of the money that the government was pumping into the economy through these bond purchases, that's stopping.
Right. They've
already told you that's going to stop. So what is the government going to be able to do in terms of the economy? Inflation is high, right? Like, everybody knows that. You're going to your grocery stores. You're going to, buy commodities. Everything is higher than it was 6 months ago.
Yep.
So I think 2022 is going to be a reality check for a lot of people because there's nowhere else to hide, bro.
Yeah, I would agree. And even when we look at the current financial state of the country and also just the financial environment we're in now, where there are so many more type of investments than there ever has been available to the public. So when you think about historically speaking, older members of our families may have just grown up, if they haven't invested at all, they did invest into real estate. Mm-hmm. But now, real estate is readily available, stocks readily available, crypto readily available, amongst other things, Turo, the car rentals, vending machines, some other creative types of investments. And what it does is it gives you the ability to pivot. But when you make that pivot, you have to make sure that you understand the investment or the new investment that you're getting in. So a real estate investment isn't going to be as liquid or move in price action as much as a stock. You may have slower investments like, vending machines where you may need, X amount of vending machines to reach your goal, your cash flow goal for a month. Or, if it's like a Turo car rental, you may say, hey, okay, we're outside of the summer travel season, so you may have to adjust your prices to reflect, the demand in that market that your cars are in.
Yeah.
So I think those are just some of the things that people have to remember to think about, because we're not saying to just stand, quote unquote, stay in your lane or just do what you've always been doing, but you just have to remember how whatever that new investment you're going to get into, how that looks in terms of like your overall portfolio, your overall investments.
Yeah, man. And as we always do on this podcast, we always preach due diligence. I think that's it's never going to be a time where you shouldn't do your due diligence. But I think now, more than ever, you're seeing people popping up and saying, yo, I can pick stocks for you. Hey, I have this investment for you. Hey, I can do your due diligence, right? Because it's still scamming season out here, right? People are still trying to make money in the easiest way possible. And part of that is just by selling you a dream. And I mean, there's a lot of people that, on social media, they have these big profiles and it seems like they're really successful. Mm-hmm. And without doing your due diligence, people are just saying, yo, I'm going to give you this amount of money.
Right. Or guaranteeing results. I mean, no investment you can guarantee a return.
Yeah, facts.
So if anybody's guaranteeing a return on whatever investment, outside of maybe like a promissory note or something like that, then.
Now, there are contingency plans, right? So, for example, if I tell you, hey, I'm going to give you 15% back on this investment. Now, you're going to ask me, okay, well, what if the investment doesn't work out? Now, I could say, well, there's collateral behind that, right? So I could sell. Let's say it's a house, right? Let's say I say it's a house. I'm going to fix this house up, and then I'm going to sell it. And let's say you give me a tenth of the amount that I need to fix this house up. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are contingency plans where it's like, okay, well, I can liquidate the house, and you can get your money back. So there are things like that. But if I can't provide you comfort with my contingency plans, you need to take that into account, right? Like if I'm telling you, hey, I'm going to give you this 15%, what if the investment goes bad? Oh, it ain't going to go bad. Like, bro, I can't control the market.
Right.
You feel me? Like, anybody who's telling you something can't go bad. Like, even debt that's guaranteed by the U.S. government, they can have a shutdown.
Be defaulted, yeah.
It can be defaulted. So if your neighborhood Ray is telling you like, yo, I'm going to give you 20% back on this, just drop the bread off. Do your due diligence, man. Yeah. Trust me.
No, I agree with that.
But bro, I wanted to go into some personal things since we on the 200th episode.
Yeah.
It's getting around that time where it's the end of the year. People think about New Year's and their New Year resolutions. And I feel like I want to give some insight into some of the things I've been doing. So since we started the podcast, we've had a lot of ideas. We've had a lot of people come on, tell us about new things, ways to make money. And some things that I've been doing while we've been recording my CFA stuff. So a chartered financial analyst, that's like I call it the gold standard in terms of finance, right? It's an exam, has 3 parts. It's a beast, yes. Right? Like you got to literally take out like 3 to 6 months to study for it. And I've been working full time. I've been doing some entrepreneurial things on the side, and I failed the level 2 twice, right? And that's something where I felt ashamed because I'm like, yo, I can't believe that I'm not up to par to pass this level 2. And when I was coming up, I was never a student, bro. Like I didn't really like books that much. I always skated by because coming from Nigeria, when I grew up in Nigeria's school system was, I would say, like 10 times harder than the school system here. Okay. So when I came here, I could skate by because it was like, if I didn't do my homework, nobody was actually beating me. Like when I was in Nigeria, you ain't do your homework. You got to put the hand out, they put the cane and all that stuff. So I came here and I was like, yo, this is light work. You feel me? So I never actually applied myself. Now, I got my master's in finance, and then I was like, yo, what's the next step? And it was like, yo, the CFA. Like, if you really about that finance stuff, the CFA is where it's at. For the level 1, I did some studying, but like I didn't really do that much studying, I'm not gonna lie. I passed the level 1. I was like, bro, level 2 is about to be lit. Failed the level 2 the first time, and I didn't do that much studying. Second time, I did some studying, but if you remember, I was going back and forth to Nigeria. Right. Like, I was trying to find a wife. Like, bro, it was a lot, bro. So I took the level 2, and I found out like a couple months ago that I didn't pass it. And then I was at this crossroad because I'm sitting here and I'm like, bro, there's so many ventures, so many business opportunities, and here I am. I've spent almost like 2 years of my life, right? Because studying is like, you got to commit yourself.
That's an investment.
Yeah, it's a big investment, right? So I made the decision to put that on pause.
Okay.
Made the decision to put that on pause. there are a lot of opportunities out there that I'm going to take advantage of. It wasn't an easy decision either, right? Because you've invested all this time into it.
And 2 attempts?
2 attempts.
Right.
2 attempts. And each time, the second time that I failed, I'm like, bruh, I know this topic is where I'm weak at. So if I just, so it was tempting for me to say, yo, get back into it and just, but I'm looking at these opportunities, and some of the opportunities for me are in Nigeria, right? So, this year I've gone to Nigeria like 3 times.
Right.
You know, shout out to Zodara in Abuja. It's opened up. So I'm gonna go back again. I'm gonna check on that, and also I got some people back there who's helping me with some real estate back there. So it's a lot of opportunities, and I'm just telling myself, once I get this CFA, the quickest way for me to make money off of the CFA is to land a big time job, right? And I think the job I have right now, it's not bad, but I would rather make a play on something where I could use my entrepreneurial skills, right? So, I'm taking chances in Nigeria. It's going to be more trips to Nigeria, more stories. Nice. And I'm giving up on trying to find a wife, right? So, you know, since we've been recording, bro, like,
I've seen the
I done had some different flavors, bro.
Yeah.
Some different flavors, different arguments, different things like that. And I'm definitely a flawed individual, but I think in terms of me trying to do business, I'm somebody where my mind has to be like focused, right? And when I was sitting here doing the CFA joint, I'm trying to settle down and all these things. It was a lot, man. It was a lot. You know, there would be days when you would hit me and I'm like, I'm somewhere else.
Yeah.
You feel me? So, yeah, I think I just believe that God's going to work it all out, you know. So it's not as if I'm just going to not date, but I think I can tell myself, like, 2022, I'm focusing on this business, man. Straight up.
So with you focusing on your businesses or business dealings in Nigeria, how are you going to handle that in terms, or balance that with, you know, working a corporate job, or there's maybe some, you know, decisions you're going to have to make where you may have to sacrifice something for the greater good of something else?
One word, finesse. Okay. That's the word I'm going to use, right? And I put it like this. If my corporate job gets in the way of what I'm doing in Nigeria, there's not going to be a corporate job, right? So I think I've already told myself, like, this is what I want to do. Mm-hmm. You know, like, I see Nigeria is yielding me the most profits next year. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, there's still a corporate job, but if my corporate job gets in the way, it'll be a tough decision because I have some things set up where the bi-weekly income from my corporate job, it does smooth some things out, but it's Nigeria, then it's corporate job, and then it's everything else next year.
Fair enough.
Yeah, man. And also, so we had Marlon on here, I think a couple episodes back, and he mentioned getting rid of your largest monthly expense, right? So I've been working on getting rid of my mortgage. Okay. So as you know, because I've been rapping to you, and that's another thing about this brotherhood we have, right? So shout out to you, because I be trying to do some crazy things now. And the first person I hit be you. I be like, yo, I'm about to do this. And you'll give me something that I didn't think about, right? And I'll take that and I'll use that, and whatever I'm doing, it just becomes better because I have somebody that can give me some insight. So with my biggest monthly expense, which is my mortgage, I've been looking for people to rent out my spot. So far, so good. I got one person who's locked in. I'm trying to figure out another person, but I am going to get rid of my housing expense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's a big move. I mean,
yes, sir.
You know, you can, like you said, replace that expense with, you know, rental income or exceed it. That's even better. And then, you know, you're also building equity on that house, simultaneously. Yeah. So that's a good look. That's a good look. And
what's good with you, man? I've been talking a lot. What's good with you, man?
Yo, so what's up with me right now? Like I said, really diving more into crypto. You know,
okay.
Yeah, diving into
you was
crypto.
Against crypto for a long time.
No, I wasn't against it. It was more so
we got the
learning curve.
We got the episodes.
Yeah, check out the catalog. It was more so just the learning curve, and really understanding how it works. Okay. Like I said, you know, just a little bit not too far ago in this episode, different assets have different correlation in terms of how they move in their respective markets, but also like how does this asset fit into the overall economy?
Okay.
So those are things that it took time for me to
So do you have a better understanding now?
Yeah, much better understanding. Yeah, much
so
better
how about you educate us? How do these things fit into the larger economy?
So cryptocurrency essentially, you don't look at it as like literally a currency. It's more so looking at it in terms of its use on the blockchain technology, but also the utility that it has. Mm-hmm. So certain cryptocurrencies have quicker transactions. Other cryptocurrencies are more, widely available in terms of like merchants, just in your everyday marketplace. So it's like little components like that you look at in terms of cryptocurrencies, and also like when we bring into the, you bring NFTs into the to the space or to the discussion. You're looking at various arts, various communities to join. Mm-hmm. So even like when you hear NFT, people just instantly think of art, but it's much bigger than art. It's about communities, building these virtual communities, and also NFTs could be a picture, video, it could be sound. So different types of media that an NFT can be. I think people need to be reminded as well. But also when you look at how they will help make up this, augmented reality and virtual reality, those spaces that are, being built out right now in terms of futuristic ideas and kind of, where we're headed in that sense, it all makes sense. So you have to kind of put all those together to really get a grasp of it, because it's not like they are their own concepts, but they actually intertwine in a sense when you put them together and see what's the idea behind things like the metaverse, Decentraland, or you can buy, virtual real estate, mm-hmm. things like that. So it's kind of like it's one of those things you got to open your mind up and, I won't say you can't, but try to think traditionally. It's like you got to be open-minded to kind of grasp what these technologies are really built around, like their purpose. Okay.
And I mean, since we kind of landed on cryptocurrencies, I think we can stay there because it's been a hot market in terms of cryptocurrencies as of late, right? And I guess you would say not in a positive way, because we have seen some cryptocurrency prices tumble.
Yeah, decline, yep.
Yeah. So I think Bitcoin is under 50K right now. It was, what was it at before? I think it was at like
low 60s.
Yeah, low 60s. Yeah. So it took a tumble about 10,000.
Yep.
A lot of people were predicting that it was going to be at or above 100,000 before the year end. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, hey, that can't happen right now. Can't happen. Not going to happen at the current level because the year is almost up. But how can you explain what happened with crypto prices? Like, is there any way because you have a better understanding of it. I have things that I feel played a part into some of the prices tumbling, which is just, for one, I think you're just reaching the end of the year. Mm-hmm. So whenever you're reaching the end of the year and you have things that could pump fear into investors, for example, not the Omarion, the Omicron variant, sometimes people just want to, take some cash, right? Take some cash. It could help them during tax time because maybe they want to, sell out of something to offset some gain or whatever it is, or maybe take out gains now because they have losses that could offset that. Mm-hmm. And it's not unusual for during the end of the year for there to be a large amount of investors selling, which could cause these prices to go down. That's my only guess to like what happened with these cryptocurrencies.
I mean, when I look at it, I view it as, I see it as, institutions starting to get more into the crypto space. When we look at, like, for example, I was tweeting about this last week, how more and more wealth management offices are starting to allow, their clients to invest into, cryptocurrency, which is, like I said, it's a non-traditional asset or a
I believe that would
alternative.
Yeah, I believe that would only boost the market, though.
Right. No. I'm not saying it's not. My point is that by allowing some of those people to get in, that panic can be a little bit higher in a sense, because now when you have this older investor with a more volatile asset. So what happens is sometimes that the reason they initially get in is because of FOMO. Mm-hmm. So you hop in because of FOMO, and now it's moving, and now you're nervous. You're uncertain what this asset's going to do. And then also, it's just the natural trading progression of some of these coins or cryptocurrencies, and people finally realizing, what, like I said, the utility and the capabilities of these coins are. So you may have heard the terminology shitcoin.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
So, you may have had some of these coins that were just driven, specifically off
speculation.
Of speculation. But like you said, right now it's just natural into the year trend. And also, one thing I've noticed recently is just kind of the correlation with the crypto and stock market. It seems to be getting a little bit more positive correlation in terms of the movement. So that's something to keep an eye out as well.
That would be a problem, though, because one of the big, I guess, pushes for crypto over stocks, because there are people who are like, yo, right now, you should take everything and put it in crypto. And some of the things they've said is like, it's not so closely correlated to the market. Like the market could be down, but cryptos could be up. But I do agree with you.
Lately both can be down.
Yeah.
So it's like pretty cool that you have these two separate markets where they have, different trading boundaries.
Yeah.
In terms of, the accessibility to the market. So you have a crypto market that's 24/7. You have a stock market that's 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday, except holidays.
I do like being able to just tune away from the markets.
Because I'd be on Twitter, and it seemed like the people who are more involved with crypto, I almost want to do a poll one day and find out what's their sleep schedule like. Because every time I'm on there, they on there.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo. And then even when I go on there, it's like, yeah, they tweeted 3 hours ago, 2 hours. I'm like, yo, y'all was up the whole night.
Man.
But I get it. I mean, they chasing the bag, a bag that we're still in its infancy. That's the thing about crypto, is that a lot of people are, kind of, they're not acting out of FOMO, but they feel like they're late to the game. But it's just, I look at it like the people who've been in crypto for, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe a decade. I won't call them the founders, but to kind of look at them as the founder in a sense. Mm-hmm. They're the people who was there from the ground up. Yeah. If you look at the statistics and the amount of people who are involved in crypto, worldwide, it's still under 10%.
Yeah, I'm looking at this Research Center article that was published November 11th of this year.
Okay.
It says 16% of Americans say they have never invested in, traded, or used cryptocurrency.
Have ever invested?
No, I think that was supposed to say never.
Okay.
It says the vast majority of U.S. adults have heard little about cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin or Ether, and 16%. So this means they don't even understand the slightest about cryptocurrencies. And this is just
16% have invested. So that means it's a whole bunch that have not.
Oh, just 60. Oh, right. The other way around.
Correct.
I apologize.
That's what I'm saying.
About
it's
that.
A small population.
Yeah.
That have invested in it.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about, man. Just 16%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just American. Worldwide is in the single digits.
Yeah. So when you're thinking about, is the market at its cap? Is it too late to get in?
No, definitely not.
Only 16%. of Americans.
And even if you feel like that way, you can also use DCA. So you can look at it as a way of putting a little bit on a recurring basis.
Yeah.
And then that way you don't necessarily buy too much when it's too high, and then you can buy more when it's maybe in a lower price area. Mm-hmm. So I think that's one of the ways to really fight the FOMO in terms of crypto until we get like a much more better understanding, and also just until it actually becomes more mainstream.
Yeah, and I think you also just have to embrace volatility too, because volatility is here to stay in cryptocurrencies. I don't think that next year it's going to change. I think you're going to have periods where it rises and you're going to be celebrating. You're going to have periods where it goes down. Right. So, for example, you might have the new investor who has been doing all their research in cryptos, and they invested last weekend, and all of a sudden cryptos are down, 10% or more, and you have to be able to embrace that. You got to hold, right?
It's like it's part of the game,
It's part of the game at this point. It's part of the game at this point.
If a shorty leave you, for another cat, maybe he got a bigger bag, you just got to charge it to the game, Charge it to the game.
Yeah, and I think, like in stocks, right? If you're investing in a value stock, you're not expecting that to drop 10 to 15%. There are certain things, certain characteristics of certain investments, right? In crypto, you just got to embrace that, right? You invest in crypto one day, it's down 10 to 15%. You should already know, like, hey, this is part of the game.
Right.
It is what it is. I'm investing and you can have your different strategies, right? You can invest in different types of coins. You can invest for long-term appreciation. You can invest just to flip. But as long as you have your strategy should understand that there's going to be volatility, and you should not panic sell in crypto. And
then they also have like staking and yield farming, which can serve more like savings accounts.
Yeah.
In a sense where you can get a specific
interest back.
Interest back, but much higher APY than the savings account. Like I've seen some that have like 16 or 18% APY. I've seen some that have much bigger APY, like 1,000%. But those APYs that are in that range, like a 4-figure range, they typically come down once more people buy into the coin. Mm-hmm. So like one of those things where if you're in the coin super early, then you may get a high, annual, percentage yield. But once more people get into that coin, then it significantly drops. But it's still much better than a traditional savings account at a bank. Like savings accounts are basically dead. Like they're dead.
Yeah, man. And when we're talking about investments and also savings accounts, so I would say right now, if you don't know, you can invest in a Series I bond. And Series I bonds, I'm reading it right now. It says the initial interest rate on new Series I savings bonds is 7.12%. Right? So what would I do with that information? If I'm making an investment, now these bonds are tied to inflation, right? So that's why the interest rate on them is high right now, because inflation is high.
Yep.
And you would have to own these bonds for at least a year.
Okay.
Right? So if I'm getting into an investment and somebody says, hey, I'm going to give you 5% back in a year's time, the answer should be no. I think this should be your bottom line for investments, right? And then also what I would say is you want to factor in the real return of your investment, because inflation is high right now, right? So if somebody tells you, yo, invest with me, you'll get back 10%. You should subtract what the inflation rate is and say, okay, this is my real return, right? We have to start accounting for inflation. So I would say any investment you're trying to make in 2022, if that investment is giving you less than 7% annually, park your money in these bonds that are a lot safer. You don't have to take the risk with them, and you can have a peace of mind just understanding like, yo, it's going to be here in a year, versus taking the risk with investing with a private institution or like a person, So anything you invest in has to be above 7% annually.
I like that. And also, you said when you account for inflation, like on these jobs, giving people raises, they giving
that's going to be a tough
raises.
One. That's going to be a tough one.
Your money is not even given. It's not retaining the same power as it did in the previous year. if your rate is not at least matching the rate of inflation. So it's one of those things where you got to look at it. You got to look at your your financial plan or wellness and say, how can I create more income for myself? Because you only can save but so much. But when you increase your income, there is no ceiling. Like there is.
Bruh, it's a tough one, but I will say it is an employee's market, right? So right now there are a ton of vacancies. There are a ton of jobs that aren't being filled. There are a ton of people who can't find the qualified. There are a ton of employers who can't find the qualified employees. Take this to your employer. Tell them, hey, look, this your little cost of living adjustment. It's not in tune with reality, right? If they say no, you have to understand that you have more power at this time, right?
That's right.
So I do feel as though, employers can do what they want, right? But you can also do what you want at this time. Why? Because there are a lot of jobs they have so many openings, and they've been openings for weeks and months, and they're looking for people to come and fill these roles. So if you're in a position where your employer is like, hey, we can only give you this 3% raise this year like we've been doing.
Right.
And you mention to them like, hey, this ain't like last year. This ain't like 2 years before. We actually have inflation. So this money you're giving me, whatever I'm trying to buy, my purchasing power has decreased by a lot more than you're increasing my pay. So it just don't make sense right now. If they're giving you a hard time, you might have to dust up that resume and see what's out there.
Yeah, that's what I would say also is that don't get married to one employer.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how well your time is going there always or can be other opportunities that are available in the marketplace that could suit you better. I know sometimes just naturally as humans we get comfortable, we may get complacent. We may say, hey, I love this position. I like what I do and go to work, come home. But now in the marketplace where compensation is something that you can really negotiate. You have to look and for one, do your research and see how your current compensation matches up with your skills and your experience level and your role. And then for two, you can also re-examine your skill sets to see are there other occupations that I may be suitable for that may not necessarily be in my current industry, but there could be another industry that I could easily, my skills can translate to, and that could bring on, a much higher rate of compensation.
Bruh, and don't be stupid enough, and don't be stupid. Don't be stupid and think that a job is not going to survive without you, right? Because I've heard people, and when I was younger, I've thought this like, yo, I'm doing so much for the company, like they're not going to be able to, bruh. If you get fired, they will find a way to replace you in a short amount of time. They will either tell somebody else to take some parts of your role, or they'll bring somebody in and they'll train them up, bro. Yeah. Like, they will be okay. All right? And when you are in love with your company, you got to understand love is a two-way street. You feel me? It's a two-way street. So you love this company, but do they love you enough to listen to your demands and say, okay, you know what? I love this guy so much that I'm going to meet him either halfway or more than halfway. Because a lot of times, the requests that we make, they just get shut down. Mm-hmm. You feel me? Like, these employers, they know. They'll give you the little runaround like, oh, I gotta run this up the chain of commands. I gotta do. He know in his head what he's trying to do.
Right.
And typically, when you
try to stall you out.
When you don't go to the man direct, right? So whoever's in power, they typically are trying to get things done quickly. Right, so if you go to the person that's the head of whatever, 9 times out of 10, they're either going to say, okay, yes, no, whatever. When you go to the middleman is trying to look good for the person up top, right? So whatever you say, they're automatically going to cut your shit down, right? You go and you say, hey, I want 20,000 more. They're like, well, hey, I could impress the guy up top if I tell him, like, hey, we can only give him 5,000 more. We can keep him, right? So they're taking your request, they chopping it down, then they going up the chain, and now they look good. They're like, wow, he retained this talent, and I didn't even have to come out of pocket that often.
Right.
That's what's up. So they come back to you with that low ball number, and a lot of times you're just like, well, hey, they said they're going to do something. But I'm trying to tell you, if they're not going to meet you halfway, and that's why when you're negotiating, you got to put some extra cream on top. You feel me? Like, if you want 5, if you know you want 5, tell them you want 10.
Yep.
And if they meet you halfway, then you can sit back and say, hey, look, I landed.
I'm happy where I landed, right?
Exactly. So some negotiation tactics as we get into the end of the year. These things are important because, like I said, things are more expensive, bro.
Yeah.
Like everything, gas, groceries, houses, like everything.
Also, when you go to negotiate, if you can bring specific numbers on how you've had an impact in the company, that's also something great to have at the table as well. So, you know, whatever industry you're in and whatever like the key metrics are, or like key performance indicators, if you could look at those type of things and see how you contributed to those for your corporation, then you can build your case that way versus just saying, hey, you know, I show up every day, blah, blah, blah. Like the intangibles are great, but at the end of the line, it's about, you know, the numbers are what matter.
Hey, we so funny, right? Because, like, you know how men and women, they have all these YouTube things where they be like, well, what you bring to the table? And the woman say this. And we will hear that and we'll be like, no, that ain't nothing. But then in the same token, we'll talk to these employers and we be like, yeah, I show up every day. I guess. And it's like, bruh, you know that they're not going to take that as anything valuable, right, bruh. Like, if you're not bringing those hard numbers on some like, hey, I brought this amount of new business here. Mm-hmm. Oh, hey, I cut this amount of costs because I did X, Y, and Z.
Right.
You coming up and showing up to work don't mean nothing. Like, that's not going to fly.
Hey, man. It's got to measure up to something.
Facts.
It's got to measure up to something.
Facts. And I think in 2022, one thing for me that I'm going to do, I'm going to have my back against the wall, bro. Like,
okay.
I'm going to be doing some riskier stuff, right? So not only will I be traveling a little bit more, another thing I'm going to be doing is in my consulting business, I'm going to be shooting my shot a lot more. So I want to advertise as much as the what's that Detroit police officer that be doing all the time?
Oh yeah, the urban survival tactics.
I want my face out there as much as I've seen him. Because look, the videos is funny, right? Like he does a lot of crazy things, and you be looking like, bruh, it could be a 5-year-old with a gun. Your ass getting smoked.
Yeah.
Like, it's no way that you're going to flip the gun around, bro. You know, but one thing I do see is I see the consistency. Mm-hmm. Like, he's out there. So, he might not be selling as many self-defense products.
Of course, there's sessions, right?
If he says, you know what, I want to sell these pens. He's got enough reach now where as soon as he puts that out, he got an audience. Yeah, he got the audience, you know. So that's one thing I want to start doing. Like, just put myself out there a lot more. I know sometimes for me, because I can be a little introverted, sometimes I be like, nah, let me not do this. But, bro, who cares, man? Like, put yourself out there. The same people talking about you going to be the same people like, oh, yeah, I used to know yo. Yeah, we used to kick
I think you have a lot of great ideas. And, you know, whenever you have great ideas, people tend to listen. So,
hey, just got to put yourself out there, man.
Yeah, it's like you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Facts.
So why not give it a shot? You know, now why not give it a chance? Because when you think about, like, on social media, how people are looking at the analytics now, and, like, before, you know, people would be so concerned with how many likes you get and things like that. But I think it's a matter of nowadays, just put yourself out there and somebody's going to see it. Yeah. Like, it's going to come on somebody's timeline.
Facts.
So it's not like, you know, you're going to create content or put something out and no one's going to see it. Like, it's going to come across someone's timeline, and as long as it is, you know, good information, or, you know, it's funny, like something that grabs their attention. Yeah. Then it can be a hit. Like we've seen, because like you said, people already know that this guy, you know, the tactics are risky. Yeah. Just like, as,
bro, I will shoot your face off if you try some stupid
stuff
like
just
that.
Just as, you know, dangerous it is to be in those situations as the victim, it's probably more dangerous to try those tactics that he's saying, especially that he's, you know, practicing them in slow motion.
Yeah.
So
super slow motion.
Right. So just going back to business, I look at it like you have to be willing to put yourself out there, and it's the risk of exposure. You know, so it's like if you don't put yourself out there, who's going to see you? If you put yourself out there, some people have like this analysis paralysis where they're like, what are people going to think? What are people going to say? You know, how do I look? How do my hair look? Blah, blah, blah. Like, just put it out. Like, you overthink. More times than not, we overthink in situations like that, in similar situations.
Yeah, and I guarantee you, if I sit any random individual here and I say, hey, I had to laugh at you for a year, and then after that year, you're going to get $1 million. And sometimes it don't even be for a year, right? It'd be like 3 months, right? I got to laugh at you for 3 months, and after that, you get $1 million. If I tell somebody that, they're going to be like, where do I sign up? Mm-hmm. But that's literally what social media is,
correct.
Right? You could put an idea out, and people are going to be ridiculing you, right? Like, your family members, your friends, they're going to be like, yo, why is he doing this, yo? Like, what's up with dude? They're going to talk about you in little circles. But if you consistently do it for at least 3 to 6 months,
right?
Hey, you're going to have a lot of strangers who are going to be willing to pay you for something because they see the consistency, right? And consistency doesn't mean, and I got to shout out my guy. His name is Light. He told me about this. Consistency does not mean I got to be in your face every day.
Correct.
Consistency just means if I'm going to post once a couple of weeks on a Sunday, I just need to post once every couple of weeks on that Sunday.
Right. You set your definition of consistency.
Exactly.
You don't let the market, or in this case, social media, other people set. And I think that's another big problem nowadays with social media, is that so many people have allowed social media to dictate their standards in whatever aspect of life, when we're all on our unique journeys. Like, no two journeys are alike.
Facts.
And that's an issue because sometimes you are trying to compare yourself to someone who's in a different stage of their life. So if, for instance, if someone is 2 years into an industry and, maybe their business is, grossing $50,000, and someone else is 10 years in the industry and they're grossing, $5 million a year. It's not to say that you can't shoot for that $5 million, but you also have to keep in mind the expertise that the other person has, how much more expertise they have than you in that subject matter. And, it's got to be a sense of realism also. Mm-hmm. You don't want to limit yourself. You want to shoot for the moon, shoot for the stars. But at the same time, if you beat yourself up too much for not reaching certain goals, or because you've compared yourself to someone who has much more expertise, I think that does more harm to your psyche than it does help you.
Yeah, and I just thought about this J. Cole song, Love Yours. Man, go listen to that song and actually, look at the lyrics.
Listen to it 2 times. Listen to it 3 times.
Actually pay attention to the lyrics, because I think we see all these people who have found success, and sometimes we just bop to that music, especially like the artists, but they be giving some actual messages in their music, So I just remember Love Yours by J. Cole. If you remember that song, most people love that album, but it's a lot of hidden gems in that. So I wanted to switch gears and talk about the brand, bro, because we 200 episodes in. I know me and you have talked personally, offline, and we've talked about the heights that we want to take the podcast to. And, I believe in it. And one thing that we're going to start doing, for one, we got some new merch coming out. So I got a nice little pullover. This kind of cool. We got this. We got another hoodie. We got a T-shirt that's going to drop as well. Yeah. We got some new cover art as well, right? So we was phony. I'm not going to lie. We was phony because we're a Baltimore podcast, right? 2 dudes that have backgrounds in Baltimore. We had a Philly. And
we happened to be at the art museum one day out in Philly, right down Ben Franklin Parkway, and we took a pic. Which was it was a great pic.
Great pic.
But it really didn't embody the Baltimore in us.
Yeah.
So we made sure to update, that cover art.
So by the time you guys get this, we're going to have that updated. And we're just going to keep up with our consistency, right? So we drop a podcast every week. We also throw some visuals up on our YouTube channel. And we give you some stuff on our Instagram. And I think we just want to be more consistent, stay strong with that. And then we understand that we have a unique audience, right? We want to also connect with our audience and figure out, what does our audience love about us, right? And whatever they love about us, we want to amplify that, right? If they say, we love when y'all touch on some personal stuff. We love when y'all talk about whatever it is, we want to amplify that. And then just, fine tune some little things here and there with the podcast.
Yeah, I agree. Just really continuing to service our community. Honestly, that's how I look at it. It's a act of servicehood, and being that we, started the podcast to talk about things that we saw in our everyday life that not necessarily people spoke about openly, but we felt comfortable enough to share our experiences and things that we've witnessed firsthand to share with others. And then, throughout the episodes, we started building our catalog. People were like, we rock with CC Smack because it's, for one, it's raw, it's not edited. We don't have a teleprompt or people telling us what to say, anything like that.
Right.
We're looking at we're talking about, like I said, the topics we talk about.
It's real news.
It's real news. And it's not fake news. You know what I'm saying? It's real news. And the thing that, like I said, people love about it is the authenticity. The authenticity and it being genuine.
And I just want to shout out our guy Martin. Right, Martin is the one behind the cameras. So we're not going to allow him to come on the camera because we don't want to give him no shine. But he's done a great job putting our vision together. We kind of said, we're going to create some visuals for episode 200, and we wanted it to be better than just like an iPhone camera or something like that. So shout out to my guy Martin. He's got tons of experience. He's worked with ESPN. He's worked with Real News. He's worked with a ton of outlets, So I just wanted to shout him out,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And that's what you got to do sometimes. You invest into your product or your service to get that better result, and to also investing in your product shows people that you take it seriously. Mm-hmm. I think that's another thing, an underlying concept, behind investing into whatever you have, a business, a hobby, whatever that is, your customer, or your client, or in this case, our listeners. They see that we care about our podcast just as much as they care to listen.
Yeah. So, hey, man, episode 200. I feel like this is it's a great 200th episode.
There you go.
We got a lot of things that we want to continue to do with the podcast, and we're not going to be able to do those things without your support. So how can you support us? If you love us, if you think we can improve, you can go to the Apple Podcast platform. You can leave us a rating. 5-star preferably. But yeah, even if you think there are things we can improve on, let us know there. That's the best place to give us constructive criticism.
Or you can email us.
Or you can email us, right? Like
CC Smack Podcast. Yeah, you go wireless.
If you have some choice words for us,
CC Smack Podcast @gmail.com. 24 to 48 hour turnaround time and response.
Man, I like that. No, he's right.
Yeah.
If you got to wireless, hit the email. But if you have...
Or DMs on Instagram or Twitter @CC Smack Podcast.
Yes, sir. And then another way you can support us is by going to ccsmackpodcast.com. That's where we're going to have all of our merchandise, and we're going to have the latest episode of our podcast. Now, you can also support me. You can find me at LongLiveTOBE on Instagram and Twitter. And then you can go check out btoconsult.com if you need any of my consulting services.
Yep, and you can find me, Josh, at JoshDLifestyle on Twitter and Instagram.
Nice. Well, hey, man, episode 200. Thank you guys for sticking with us for these past 200 episodes. We're going to see y'all at episode... When's the next time we're going to do something like this, yo? Like, I feel like we can do something like this for, like, episode 250.
Yeah, before that, we'll do it more often. Yeah.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
On your dime, though.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
All right, hey, you heard it here on episode 200.
He tried to catch me in a moment. Hey, man, be careful.
No, hey, I paid for... Yo, Pizza's expensive nowadays, man. I'm not gonna get into a rant, but we had some off the camera stuff that happened.
Hey, CC Smack Podcast, episode 200, live from Inner Harbor, Baltimore, Maryland.
It's a wrap, man.
It's a wrap.
Peace.
Peace.